Good evening, friends. I am Ravindra Srinivasa from SRAA Media. I have with me today now Srimati Sharada Subramaniam from Delhi. She is a yoga trainer, yoga master, spiritual healer, spiritual seeker, and she is into a lot of purpose coach, life coach, and she was into Government of India service department, civil services. So she got a lot of credentials. Today she is going to talk about the World Environment Day and Cancer Survival Day, because 2 days are being celebrated today, being the every year first Sunday of every year will be celebrated as Cancer Survivors Day, and 5th June is being celebrated as a World Environment Day. I welcome Sharada Subramaniam for our knowledge sharing program. Welcome, madam.
Thank you, Mr. Ravindra. Good evening, and as always, a pleasure to be on your show. Today, it's a little unprepared kind of a meeting, but I really look forward to this conversation. And I'm going to, at the outset, make it very clear that I am not an expert in either of the two subjects. So this is going to be just a common layperson's discussion on the two subjects. It is indeed a little interesting and quite a happy coincidence also. I don't know if I should use the word happy, but a coincidence that the World Environment Day on June 5th and the Cancer Survivor Day, which is basically the first Sunday of any June, has fallen on the same day today. And probably it's a good time to talk about both these subjects, and also if there is any connection between the two, because I mean, as I say, this is a coincidence, but we must examine that as well. See, well, let's first start with the environment, and I have to start with where I come from, which is my core competence, which is the Indian spiritual philosophical system. And today morning, in fact, we were speaking about the mantras amongst our traditional texts, which honor the environment. And I was mentioning that in the Indian traditional thought, we have always considered the human being as one cog in the entire cosmic wheel. And there are about 84 lakh jivas. So when you mention the word jiva, it need not necessarily be a human being, anything with life. And that starts from plants, bacteria, insects, reptiles, to animals, the trees, our rivers, the elements, the sun, the sky, there are the cosmic planets. So the entire universe becomes part of it. And when we worship, we do not ever consider, it's never a man-centric or a human-centric world. The world is always, Ishvara is the, or God. I mean, I don't like to use the word God because it doesn't symbolize what Ishvara means, because God in the Western concept is someone away from us. But when we talk of Ishvara, it is our own consciousness, which is within us. And within not only us, but within every living creature in this world. So when we see divinity in everything around us, we naturally take the entire environment and go with it consciously. That being said, there is no doubt that like all other countries around the world and like all other human beings, we have also been cause of a lot of environmental damage. And regardless of all these prayers and all the legacy that we have over centuries, we have forgotten this tradition, and we have also gone into mindless modernization, mindless development, where we do not care for the rest of life, and we are only looking at man and putting ourselves at the center of the universe. So what we need, what we enjoy, what makes life easier for us, makes us do less work, more relaxation, more enjoyment, those are the things that we pursue. we pursue material things, and we forget that we cannot live in isolation without this cosmic world that has always surrounded us and which our ancestors so easily understood. So if you are going to pollute your rivers, if you are going to cut your trees, if you are going to kill animals, if you're going to land up destroying nature, you have already, I mean, all of us have already seen the impact of it in our day-to-day lives. And I think any of us, especially those of us who have lived 40 years and more, we will ourselves say that there has been an impact of global warming. All the cities and towns that we visit today have less trees, less cleanliness, I mean, much more pollution, much more air particulate matter than they did 25, 30 years ago. Because I remember as a child, I grew up in Delhi. We used to sleep in the nights on our terraces. Most Delhi people in those days, Delhi was safe enough to sleep in the open, and we would sleep under the open sky, and we would look at the stars, we would see the constellations. Occasionally, if we were lucky, we could see a meteor, we could occasionally see a few planes. There weren't that many aeroplanes those days. So, you know, the night sky with the stars, today you can't see it. You look up at the sky, you can hardly see a few stars. The Milky Way we could see. Today you can't go, you have to go all the way to, you know, beyond Manali or somewhere into a real village if you want to see the Milky Way. That is the kind of particulate matter that is in our cities today. Uh, our children suffer from asthma. Can you imagine a young child not being able to breathe? So that is the kind of pollution we are talking of. We have broken down trees. Bangalore, you know, my hometown, your hometown. How many trees have gone? What was Bangalore 25 years ago, and where is it today? It's so sad when you see the rampant development. I mean, that it may look very modern and you may have very big cars, but we can see environmental degradation and our rapid enthusiasm for, you know, destroying everything in the name of development very clearly when we look at these big cities. Uh, and therefore, I think the need to preserve environment, our rivers, our soil. Sadhguruji is currently doing a wonderful campaign to conserve soil and bring awareness. He did an earlier one on rivers. So I think our rivers, our earth, our soil, our mountains, trees, this is our legacy. This is the real wealth we have, not the dollars or the rupees that are in our bank, because those cannot get us health. And now when we talk of health, it's pertinent that today is also a day for cancer survivors, those human beings, people who have gone through life-threatening disease. Cancer is not an easy disease, you know, because not only is it a very serious genetic you know, it causes bodily changes in you, but there is a whole lot of psychological, emotional issues also connected with cancer. And there are different kinds of cancer. And there is no doubt, I mean, though I'm not the expert to speak on it, but as a lay person, I can see that the rising number of cases of cancer, definitely, especially when it comes to lungs and such organs, we definitely have created an atmosphere through our neglect of the environment where cancer has become rampant in society. And it is sad, it is difficult. I know many close friends of mine who have been through this painful process, and yet uh, I don't know where I should connect, but when I see people who have survived cancer, who have been through some real painful treatment, a huge emotional jolt to their lives, a complete change in their careers, and how they have overcome it and become strengthened and, you know, have found new meaning and purpose in life. It gives me a lot of inspiration because that shows human spirit in its best form. And as a cancer survivor can only speak, I should not speak, but as a cancer survivor should say, you have been through it and you have emerged successful. You have virtually, you know, combated nature. And of course, I realized that there are some genetic causes, there are of course causes beyond our control, and no one really invites cancer or lives in a way by which cancer gets attracted. But definitely the pollution around us, the kind of food we eat, the chemicals we are putting into our soils, the fertilizers, the fact that we eat vegetables which are uh, treated with hormones so that they grow faster, look beautiful, but have no taste in them. So all of us are looking at all kinds of hormonal and chemical alterations being made to the food we consume. And the food we consume is what is actually what our cells are made of. And therefore, there comes the link between, clean environment, a chemical-free, a pollutant-free environment, and a reduction in the number of cancer cases. Because if we can ensure that our particulate matter gets down, we have cleaner and greener vehicles around us, we use better practices with agriculture, with food, and also as consumers, we should be ready to eat and go through the more difficult processes. When we were young, uh, we always ate. Today, when I buy a packet of brown rice and eat, the color of that rice is the color of the rice that I used to eat as a child. We never had pure white rice. We didn't have this beautiful looking apples, but the taste of those apples, the taste of those mangoes, the taste of the lychees we used to pluck from my garden in Patna. I mean, the beauty of that is no longer available because we are looking at fat, big vegetables, fat, big fruits. Everything is, larger than life and very attractive to look at. Whether it's fried food, whether it's the French fries, whether it's the pizzas, but I don't know really how much of it is good for for us in the long term. And there comes the nature where we have to take care of, having more natural food, preserving our nature, less polluting water, because if your water is full of chemicals and pollutants, that is something you can't avoid. You can't be drinking every day, processed water which has gone through some organic treatments. So we are really at the mercy of every one of us. So only you or only me sitting in isolation cannot do it. It is the responsibility of every one of us to first come together and ensure that we have a cleaner, greener earth. We respect nature. We respect every jiva that is around us. And then we also do not tamper with nature. Allow nature to work on its own. Do not put the human intelligence is a wonderful thing. Some wonderful discoveries have come up about it. But the day that becomes an arrogance where you want to control nature and you want to alter nature for your own, pleasure or momentary happiness, that is when you are creating problems. And that is why cancer becomes such a big issue today. It is something which wasn't, I mean, it was always there probably and not so well detected, but today the cases are much more because it's also because of the, even the poultry and the meats that you eat, the kind of food that is being fed to those animals. As a vegetarian, I feel that I would request that it's better to avoid non-vegetarian food altogether because it's, but then it's not easy because humans have to eat as well. So ideally eat more vegetables, eat fresh food, try to avoid eating processed foods, chemically treated or altered foods, high yielding seeds, try to go back to natural, your natural rices and the natural varieties of rice, the natural varieties of even milk, the cows that produced milk when we were young and the cows that we have today are very different. So whether it's the milk you drink or everything has to change. And for that, it requires a huge effort. And one day, like you were just saying before we started this program, one day for environment or one day to celebrate victory over cancer is not sufficient. We have to do it 365 days. And all the days have to be days where I feel we should be grateful to God, express gratitude for all the beautiful miracles and wonders that he or she or whatever that power is has given us, And we should also be able to enjoy nature, use, I don't want to use the word use, but yes, use it in a way where you do not misuse it. So continue to enjoy, drink water that you need, nourish yourself, but don't deplete it. Like Mahatma Gandhi said, man should live according to his needs, not according to his greed. So the world has enough, nature has enough to give man according to his needs. But if you try to take from nature according to your greed, then you are damaging the earth for future generations. We owe it to our children and to their children that we give them a better world. I feel very sorry when my children can't see the stars in the sky because we used to see it as children. Children in Delhi haven't seen sparrows. We used to see sparrows every day. There are so many varieties of birds and animals and insects that even we as, and we are talking of a 25, 30-year-old period. Can you think of what is going to happen in the next centuries? So we have to be very, very cautious. Much of it sounds rhetorical, but it is not rhetorical. In fact, it is, we cannot say it more often. It is cannot be emphasized more that we need to conserve, we need to protect our environment, we need to look after the future generations. And then we also need to be sympathetic and compassionate to diseases. You cannot, you have to have the ability to provide adequate cancer care in this world. There are lots of wonderful organizations, and I do hope that sometime you will be able to speak to some of them who are doing wonderful work in cancer care, because cancer in particular ravages the poor a lot because they do not have access to high treatment, expensive treatment, or even to the psychological and behavioral emotional support that the rich can afford. And for them it becomes a very, very traumatic, financially exhausting and physically exhausting time. And therefore my heart really goes out to them. And I think it is also our duty as human beings. We are all responsible for the spread of this disease, and we are all equally responsible to ensure that those of our brothers and sisters who unfortunately fall prey to this victim, to this disease, to this dreaded and very, very painful disease, realize that there is hope, there is a cure, there is not, may not be a cure, but there's adequate treatment, and a cancer-free life is possible. Not only possible, it is definitely there. And in any case, all of us have limited periods on this earth. Nobody is living here forever. So let us try to use whatever period of life we have to make it as beautiful for ourselves and for others. And the only way we can make it beautiful for ourselves is by making it beautiful for others. So I think that is the message for today, because both these events falling together on the same day re-emphasize this very point, that we need to respect each other, we need to respect life in totality. And that is what will see us overcome all diseases with a positive mind. And even if we fall and succumb, so what? Life is eternal. We will go on. The human race will go on. And we must learn to accept whatever may come our way. Not to say, not to be fatalistic, but yes, we have to have a healthy acceptance of whatever tragedies befall us. Regardless, today is a day to celebrate those who have conquered this horrible disease. And I wish them all, from my side and from your side and from all of us, a very, very healthy, happy life ahead. And let us all be together to spread awareness about cancer, to find ways to prevent the spread of cancer, and also to simultaneously protect and take care of the environment. Thank you.
Thank you very much for giving such a beautiful message. Our request through this media to all of our audience, World Environment Day should not be restricted only for today. It should be continuously observed for all the years throughout that, all the days throughout the year. And especially, we should not exploit, we should use the nature, but we should not exploit the nature. And we should always give respect to what we are using, and you should see that we should restore it. No doubt, when we use it, it is going to create certain limit of a certain amount of damage to the nature. but we should always see that it should be restored, because there are a lot of ways to restore the nature. There are a lot of experts, there are a lot of scientists who give suggestions, who give ideas how to restore the nature. And every citizen, it is our bound duty to see that we should always restrain from the undue exploitation of the nature in the name of globalization, in the name of civilization. We should stop such bad thing which we are creating to the nature. This is the call we are requesting to all our global audience to observe on this day.
Recycle and renew, that's very essential, because until we do that, we cannot conserve. So thank you very much for that lovely message.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste. Good evening.
Good evening.